What's up, guys? We had an awesome stream last night, and it kind of made me go on a roll with just ranting like I normally do with like long form content. So I figured we would jump straight into it. So we finally passed 7,000 subscribers. Thank God. It only took me half a century. Also, I really appreciate all of you that have followed me from the beginning. I know it's been a little inconsistent lately, but not gonna apologize for having a family and having, real life stuff going on. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. One of the things someone asked me near the end was, kind of my origin story, like what got you into collecting? And then another really great question was, why is everyone suddenly caring about pop reports and vintage? So let's go ahead and dive straight into it. So I want to go ahead and say that most people care about these cards, like cards in my hand right now, the original base set trio, and these are in mint condition PSA 9, but a lot of people are starting to care about stuff like this, all these older cards, and these are the OGs right here, right? This is the original base set that hit North America, and this is a piece of history to me. It goes beyond like the artwork, right? So like, of course, like there's no debate here that, I talked about this yesterday. I love the modern alt arts. I love them. I think they're great. I love that everybody has these. I love that we can all share our appreciation for these cards. But let's be real here. This Charizard, yes, we know that the art is phenomenal in comparison to like this basic, and we love Mitsuhiro Arita, but like this is a basic artwork, right? It's really, there's nothing that super stands out about it. It is super iconic, but that's about it. It's more like a hype beast card than anything. I, again, bought it for the history. It is the same reason I still have my Van Gogh Pikachus, which I talked about in the stream last night. Those are worth $800 right now in PSA 10. I got two, and they both hit PSA 10. And you know why the universe gave me two 10s? Because I'm not selling those cards, and I'm going to appreciate those cards, and they are a piece of history. No, I just got really lucky that they did not get damaged by Pokemon Center. But for real, like I love when cards mean, they have historical significance, and I believe the older cards do. Is that why everybody is starting to collect vintage cards? And after this, I'll talk about what got me into collecting in the beginning, just for anybody that is new to the channel, that is wondering, like, how did this guy amass this crazy background, this crazy collection? So we'll talk about that in a bit, but why do I personally think that everybody is starting to go after these older cards, right? Maybe not specifically base set first edition. Those still aren't doing nearly as well as they could, which I don't care about because I'm still trying to complete those. So I would like it if people weren't going crazy for first ed base set. But what I will say is you notice a trend with a lot of low pop hollow grail cards. We've talked about crystals, gold stars, shinings, and I think first edition base will be in there soon. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the cards in first edition base have actually doubled in price. So I think it's fair to say they have gone up a lot, but there's a lot of other cards that have probably tripled in price. But I think they're probably in line with a lot of other grail cards. Why do I think this is happening? A lot of Neo Genesis hollows, I'm seeing those, Neo Destiny, Neo Revelation, just any low pop hollow is just exploding. And we always knew that these were low pop cards. A lot of us long-term collectors knew that these cards were rare and that they were hard to find. But that never really changed people's opinion on how much they were worth. But all of a sudden, people are paying way more. Now, granted, it's all about market conditions. It's all about the environment that we're in right now. Pokemon is crazy. Everybody and their mother is collecting, buying, scalping Pokemon. So it is no wonder that all of the cards across the board are getting more popular. We dived into Modern. We saw alt arts, and we saw Scarlet Violet, illustrations, SIRs. We saw alt arts from Sword and Shield, and the Trainer Gallery cards. We saw all those cards. Like the Trainer Gallery, dude, the Starmie is insane. Like 300, 350. It's got Misty in it. I love that card. I need to get that card. I already sold mine in a 9, and I'm already kind of regretting it. But like we saw all these cards just go crazy in value, and then they retraced. And then we saw kind of the same thing with Sun and Moon, which has happened a couple times now. And then we saw the same thing with, Scarlet Violet SIRs and IRs. They popping off, and then all of a sudden nobody wants them now that they're cheap again. That being said, I think people are rotating, right? A lot of people are rotating, and I think this is going to be the general consensus that most people are just simply rotating from Modern. They're realizing that, everybody has this stuff. I don't want this stuff because everybody has it. Guys, that's one of my favorite things about Modern cards. And I love this 9. I am keeping this duplicate 9. I have this in a 10, and I pulled it myself, and we are going to keep this in a 9 because this one has a slightly different printing shade. What I've noticed with Modern cards is even Modern cards are kind of cool. They have kind of some unique features. Some of them have a totally different color, print color on them. That just like this looks a little bit lighter and a little bit more faded. Dude, it looks so good. This one looks almost better than my PSA 10. So I think down the road, there's going to be actually, people that collect certain styles of Modern alt arts, but I digress. I think people realize that like everybody has these and that's not cool, right? I used to say like, like everybody has alt arts, whatever, hype beast, but really it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter that these cards are low pop because, and to be fair, first edition base set guys, to be fully transparent, these are not that rare. They're not even really low pop. They're just really iconic. People love them, which is why base set and base set reprints like Base Unlimited and Base Set 2 and Legendary Collection, all of those sets do really, really well because the classics never age. But what I've realized is it's more fun to have cards that most people can share and enjoy, and that's what I love about Modern. But I think, first off, there was a huge shift from Modern into Vintage, and then I think, secondly, is eBay and PSA just having to get their hands in everything. So originally, the PSA vault or the eBay vault was eBay, right? They were operating the vault. I really liked it. You paid a small fee, you sent your card to the vault, you withdraw, and it actually went pretty smooth, pretty quick, right? It took like about a week extra for the card to get to you. Now that the PSA has bought the vault and they've taken over, now it takes weeks, almost a month to get your card because they are backlogged. One, they're PSA, they're the largest grading company in the world, and then on top of that, now they're doing vault, they're like accepting everyone's cards, which is going to be a huge storage debacle, I feel like. But it's going to be a huge obstacle for them to overcome, like streamlining this whole process. Because right now, it's not streamlining. It takes forever to get you your cards. But why is this significant? Orion, we are 7 minutes in. Get to the fucking point. Okay, the reason why I think this is significant is because ever since PSA bought the vault, right, to my knowledge, I might be wrong on this, but to my knowledge, there was never any, you could go and search for PSA population data, right? You could always go find it. It was right there in front of you. Did I go and find it even though it was right there in front of me sometimes? No, I didn't. I didn't go on the website. I didn't put in the cert numbers. I didn't look at pop reports really until my second or third year into collecting. It wasn't something that I really thought about that much. So it's something that with time and experience in this hobby, you get more involved with. You want to know how many of this card exist. That's what makes it special and unique and whatever. That's why people collect error cards because they're one of one. But what really I think changed the game is when you have check the PSA data right beneath the card description from PSA, and now boom, you can see, oh crap, there's only 100 of these. No wonder it's 18,000 for a first edition Shining Gyarados. So I think with that kind of power, with that little tool just added in there, I honestly believe that people really started to be more affected and become more aware and noticing the fact that, cards that are really high value, there is this correlation between low pop and really high value. And so that's why I think a lot of people are honestly getting into vintage. One, they're finding the arts. As they're deep diving into this hobby and going into the earliest sets, like I did, you do your homework and you start looking through every visual set list of all of the original WotC sets and onwards, and you see all the cards in these sets and you're like, oh damn, these cards are sick. I'm gonna go check these out. And then you go check them out on eBay and then boom, it has all that population data on there, and then you're like, oh crap, there's only 50 of these. Yeah, this is worth, this is worth 15, 20, 30 grand. I'm going to be one of 50 people that own this card. And like, that's what makes, grail collecting so important and so exciting for people, because they can say, oh, I have this. But it also becomes a game of the haves and have-nots. And that's a part of it that I don't really feel comfortable talking much about, because I'm super lucky that I got most of the cards in my collection before things really got out of control. At the same time, people before me are super lucky that they got the cards before I was buying them. So the cycle is just repeating, but it is something that I feel weird talking about, that I used to really be proud of. But I was saying in the stream that it's kind of embarrassing. It's like gloating to be like, oh, I have, all of these cards, whatever. So yeah, I feel like now that eBay displays the PSA population data, that's really, in a nutshell, why I think people are so much more aware what stuff is worth and why it's so special, because they see that population report, and now everyone's going to be throwing around pop reports, right? They did not have that a year ago. They did not have that 6 months ago, I don't think. They did not have a feature where every time me and you look at a card on eBay, we're like, oh, boom, I can check the data on it. You had to look that up yourself, and while it doesn't take any additional effort, most people probably weren't doing that. Most people were just like, yo, this card is dope. I think it's worth X. I think it's easy to say that cards have always been valued off of their population, but that's just not true. All right, we have so many examples where cards with super high population, both new and old, are really valuable. Take, for instance, the Neo Genesis First Edition Lugia. There's plenty of that card in PSA 9 population, yet it is thousands of dollars because it is super iconic and people just love it. That's one of those cards that I feel like people never fully took account of the population. Even if they knew the population, it didn't bother them much that it was such a high pop. They just love the card, and that's why it continues to sell. That card is coming down in price, though. Last 3 auctions have continued to fall in price, which tells me a little bit about the market, that maybe, just maybe, guys, maybe there's something to look forward to. People maybe are starting to get a little burnt out and spending less money. Once people realize what's been going on in this market, I think people are going to cool off. Now, let's stop talking about Pop Report because we're done there. I do want to keep my videos a little bit shorter moving forward. I want to get them done earlier in the day, and I want them to be a little bit shorter. Because I know not everybody has the time and not everybody has the attention span. So yeah, just keeping it real. Now, this guy, a base set unlimited PSA 7 Charizard. All right, this card's not that special, but it's very special to me. Like many of my kind of lower grade condition cards, beat up, battered, scratched up, I have a lot of cards that I could show you guys. Not just this one, but this is probably one of my favorites, just because I love Charizard. And it looks nearly just the same as, your $30,000 variant, but it is, 100th the price, right? Like, it's crazy, 100th, 1/10th, 100th, yeah, basically 100th, yeah. This Charizard in a 7 is what, like $300-400? Meanwhile, in a 9, this guy is going for, I don't even know right now, but I want to say like 25 to 30K. I think that's where I've always thought it was kind of valued at, and that's why I bought mine for 18, because I was like, yeah, this seems like relatively a good deal. It was still a nut job thing for me to do to buy that card for that much, but that's neither here nor there. It's done, and it's in the past. And we are very happy to have it in our collection. We're happy to have all of the cards in our collection that we have today. But you can see the back of this card too. PSA 7s are I talked about this last night, how PSA 7s are so borderline close, lately with how tough grading's gotten. PSA 7s are very borderline close to being 8 or 9. It's so subjective to a point where this is why I collected cards like this when I first got in the hobby. My origin story is really about Yu-Gi-Oh! So I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan and collector as a kid, and pretty much through adulthood, right? Up to the point where I was 17, 18, I was still occasionally playing Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends. It was like a guilty pleasure. When we were in the library during study hall, we would bring our Yu-Gi-Oh decks and we would play Yu-Gi-Oh. So that's something that I kind of continued secretly into high school, even though I didn't really want girls to know, because I knew that they'd think I was a nerd. So that's like my origin story is, I played Yu-Gi-Oh as a younger guy, and I loved the TCG, and I loved collecting the cards. But more so playing. I was really more of a player in Yu-Gi-Oh than I was a collector. But once that we had our first kid, it ignited all those feelings. And I think a lot of you can relate to me, and we're going to try and keep this short. It's already past 50 minutes. A lot of you can relate that when you have your first kids, you get this like wave of nostalgia and like, this longing to be young again. All of that kind of floods back up to the surface. And I just turned to Diana one day and I just said like, I want to get back into collecting. And, she was supportive. I don't think she ever thought that it would become this. But like, I just knew one day that I really wanted to start collecting cards. And, then I started watching YouTube and I started watching the big YouTubers and I was like, dude, if they can do this, I can do this, right? Like, I like will rant about stuff and I'm ADD and I go off on tangents and it's whatever. But it's also what makes my channel unique. It's what makes me able to just go off so long about this stuff. But I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. So let's just try. And today we are at 7,000 subscribers and I'm still trying and I'm still putting in the effort. And even though it's been on and off, it's still something that I very much enjoy. But it started with Yu-Gi-Oh! And then, I got all of the theme decks, which I'm going to go ahead and grab just to reference. Let's go ahead and get these. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Theme decks, this is like why I got back into Pokemon, was these things right here. So it started with these, because I had them as a kid. I didn't have a lot of the most valuable cards as a kid. I had a lot of like not really that worth anything cards as a kid, right? A lot of my collection, even today, of my childhood stuff just isn't really worth anything. But I had these theme decks, and this is like my humble beginning, is these theme decks. Then I realized that, oh crap, there are Pokemon theme decks, right? I didn't even know these existed, guys. I didn't have these as a kid. So when I saw these theme decks, my eyes lit up and I went crazy. And I started buying them. And, then it kind of spiraled into what it is today with all the theme decks. And I have a display case that's just overflowing with sealed theme decks. And it's one of my really cool, again, unique features about my collection. Because everybody has cards and sealed booster boxes and whatnot. Not very many people have a sealed theme deck collection. And I know. I talk about it all the time. Orion, nobody cares about theme decks but you. But, dude, theme decks are goated. You get the art, you get the colors. They don't make them like that anymore. Theme decks, it doesn't work anymore. You can't buy a modern theme deck and have it be worth anything in the future. So there's no investment side of it, but also there's no art. There's no love. There's no passion in it, right? I talk a lot about passion and having heart and like gut instincts. And like, I have a gut instinct that these theme decks one day will be extremely, extremely valuable and very rare. It's just going to be up. They were mass produced, but there will come a time where they start to kind of dry up. And we're starting to see a little bit of that now. I've seen prices raise on these nearly double for a lot of these theme decks, but you can still get deals on them, which is why I love those. I love collecting them. But yeah, it all started with theme decks, guys. That's the story. Not that crazy. And then it spiraled into Pokemon, and I was doing master sets, and I was doing vintage, and I was buying people's collections. But like some of the cards that make me happiest, and I brought some of these other ones up. I wasn't gonna grab them, but dude, screw it. Some of the cards that make me the happiest. And this one's, some of these are recent. Some of these are recent, and some of these not so recent. But this was actually gifted by a viewer, Poetry for Some. Shout out to Poetry for this. This is the CD promo Charizard. Because everybody knew when I first got back into, collecting and I did YouTube, I had like a collection of like used mid-grade Charizard Unlimited, base set 2, Shadowless. I had like 5s, 6s, and 7s, right? I had a 4 at one point. I think I had 2 4s. I really saw a lot of value in collecting like the more battered cards, because at the end of the day, I was still getting the card for such a fraction of the price of a PSA 9 or 8 or 10. And then gradually, you know, I started to collect higher grade cards. But yeah, people knew that I loved Charizard so much that someone actually sent me one for free. And that was a really, really cool thing of them to do, and I really appreciated it. And I got that card raw, and we graded it, and it got an 8, and that was really, really cool. Another great example, this Rockets Mewtwo. I think this was my 3rd year into collecting. We got this guy. Why does this card matter that much? Because it came from a really, really cheap, dirt cheap binder collection, right? And I graded it myself recently, but like when I first got back into collection, the most fun, the best part was really finding deals on this stuff. That was the best part. And that's kind of like from there, you know, it changed into me buying higher value cards. But when I started, and I kind of want to get back to that, you know, when I started, it was just about finding cool cards that I like. And now, with all the craziness, it's getting really, really hard to even find deals on cards. So some of these cards I hold on to because they remind me what made me so happy in the hobby to begin with. And it wasn't expensive cards and low pop cards. It wasn't that. What made me excited and happy was just getting a good deal on cards that I thought looked awesome. And at the core, that's where a lot of you will start when you're collecting. You'll start with stuff that you like, that you just, the simplicity of it makes you happy. And you'll buy it at cheaper price points. And then you may find yourself, you know, starting to evolve as a collector and starting to collect, you know, more advanced, I guess, rarer, lower pop cards. But at the end of the day, like, this is where it all began. This Gengar, you know, we got this and graded it ourselves. I absolutely love it. What is it, a PSA 5? Dude, I freaking love this Gengar. It has grown on me so much. Originally, I didn't even care for this card that much because of the animation on it. I thought it was kind of cheesy. Now it's become like one of my all-time favorite cards. I would love to get this card in a higher grade, but I remind myself, like, dude, this card already gives you so much joy because you bought it from a $200 like trash collection, right? Like, this was just thrown in with a bunch of cards and it emerged, you know, and I just was like, damn, this looks like it might be kind of valuable. And it stayed in my binder, my Fire Red Leaf Green binder for a year or two until I finally graded it. But it's a PSA 5, but it's a beautiful card. It's an absolutely beautiful card. One more time for our buddy Gengar and PSA 5. Like, it's not all about low pops and like super rare cards. Sometimes it's just like finding a deal. This Charizard that graded a 7, I bought this card for $112, right? I did not pay that much for this card. And that was, I think, 2020, 2019, 2020. And that was a lot of money at the time. I was like, damn, I'm spending $112 on a Charizard card. Yeah, got the PSA 7, and I love it so much more because I got an awesome deal on it. It was all part of the hunt. This Wartortle, which I've mentioned many times, a lot of you have seen this card. This card gets probably more screen time than a lot of my grails. This is you guys probably can't tell, it just looks like a non-holo Wartortle, but it has a double stamped error. It's a Wizards of the Coast Top Deck Magazine promo that has this golden W stamp right here. And this one has, and again, nobody's probably going to notice it, but there are 2 stamps. It literally got a duplicate stamp, and that is an error, a very rare factory error. And I sold 2 others that were in worse condition. Looking back in hindsight, I should have kept every single copy because I've never seen anybody with that. But again, that was from the same collection this Gengar came out of. Just a dirt cheap kind of someone, you know, one man's trash, another man's treasure type deal. This Mew I bought for, I think, 20 bucks sealed. I really thought that it was going to grade a 10, but apparently these are like impossible to grade 10 because they have print lines in them. This one's a little off center. I still think it deserved to get a PSA 10, and so it's definitely staying in the collection regardless. But yeah, it was just a super cheap card. That's what makes the collecting so much fun, and that's when I came into the hobby. That's like my origin story. Is it wasn't like it is now. Even at its peak, it wasn't like it is now. Like, you know, back in 2019 during the COVID boom, like you could still find people getting rid of their Pokemon cards that had no idea, like lived under a rock, had no idea that any of this stuff was worth anything. And I like it that way. I want to buy people's trash. I don't want to buy the stuff people are sentimental about or want to hold on to. Because, you know, then I can't actually get a good deal on it. And it's not like it's just like collecting on a budget. So when I started in this hobby, I did not start like a lot of the cats that are coming into this hobby and spending a load of money. I did not start collecting cards like this. This was a several year process that I evolved into, and I basically got better equipped and felt more confident buying stuff like that, and I knew that I was going to be in this hobby for a very, very, very long time. Hi, cutie. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do?
We need batteries.
We got to put the batteries in. All right, say goodbye to everybody. I'm about to end this video. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
I gotta take my dad away from you. You can't say that.
He's wearing the perfect shirt too.
Oh, we got our Pokemon shirt on. Oh yeah, we got our Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charmander. Who's our favorite?
Mew.
Did you say Mew?
No, she said you.
Oh, me? I'm your favorite Pokemon? What's your favorite Pokemon? What do you think your favorite Pokemon is?
I want to set.
Okay, well, we're going to wrap it up, guys. I'm going to wrap it up, so I will see you guys next time. Peace! Say bye!
Bye.
Bye! Start simple. Collect what you enjoy. Try and get some good deals. Enjoy the hunt. Peace out, guys.